you get a shot of that? Hi guys, welcome to Val's Kitchen. I'm Val, and this is my kitchen. Today we're gonna make stromboli. It's like an Italian bread with meat and cheese rolled inside and baked with sesame seeds on top, and you bake it and then you slice it up. It's great for dinner, it's great for parties. One of my family's favorites. Let's get started. So I had my dough in the fridge. I made it yesterday. So it's been sitting out for about 45 minutes. If you made the dough fresh to make your stromboli, you would just need to leave it setting for about 15 minutes. If you saw the episode on the pizza, I stretched it out and let it rest for about 10 minutes, and when you go to stretch it out again, it'll go further. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. I wanna show also that I had it on the pan with a little bit of olive oil, just spread it over the pan, put the dough ball on the pan with the tea towel over it to help it to rise. And a tea towel would be like a lintless, it's a towel that wouldn't get lint or anything. It's very thin, wouldn't get any lint on your dough. So I'm just gonna work it out right on the pan because I'm lazy and I don't like cleaning up another thing. So since I'm using the pan, this is what I'm gonna work on. Just because I don't like extra cleaning. So one thing you have to be careful with this, you don't want to make it too thin in one spot. I see a spot already that looks like it's getting a little thin because you don't want to get a hole. I keep flipping it over, it just makes it easier to try to spread. And I'm just kind of pushing outwards with my fingers. Yeah, I have a little spot right there that looks like it's ready to be a hole. So I'm not gonna push too much on that spot because you don't wanna get a hole in this. All right, there we go. It's about probably as stretched out as I'm gonna get for right now. I'm gonna let it sit for about 10 minutes and then it's gonna stretch some more. We're gonna let it sit. I'll put the tea towel back over it and we'll be back. All right, so this is sat for about 10 minutes. I'm gonna stretch it out some more. Oh, just preheated the oven to 350. I have the rack in the middle. We don't wanna put this on the lower rack. Most of my cooking is on the lower rack, but for stromboli, I want it to be in the middle because I don't wanna overcook the bottom. I don't wanna get it burnt. All right, so here we can see it stretching more. Now just sitting. I'm not gonna really flip it, I don't think. Well, let me take a look. I might flip it once, but just sitting now, you can see it's stretching more. And when you see these thin spots in the dough, try to push it together. You don't want to make it into a hole. I have a couple of spots that are a little thin, so I go to where the dough is thicker and I stretch it at the thick part. I have a thin spot right here. Looks like it was a bubble, but I'm gonna squeeze that together because I don't wanna make a hole. I don't want all the cheese leaking out, although it happens most of the time anyway, and it doesn't make a difference. I actually like when the cheese comes out because it gets brown on the bottom, and it's yummy. Sometimes I'll pick it off and eat it. This is a bigger size pan. This is my favorite pan for doing the stromboli because it is larger. I think it was 14.5 by 20 when I measured it. You can just get them at Walmart. I actually got this one at Michael's. I have another one that I use just for cookies. So this is my pan that I use for savory, and then I have my one for sweet. I don't know why, but I don't like to cook my cookies on the pan after I made a pizza or a stromboli on it. So, and if you have a stone, you can use the stone. You just want it to be longer. And if you were using just a regular rectangle, larger cookie sheet, and I've done that before, I do it on an angle. I ended up making the stromboli from one corner to the other corner because it makes it a little longer. Because you're gonna want it long. You wanna make a nice big size. All right, that's probably about as stretched out as I'm gonna get it. I guess it doesn't really matter about the order, but I put the salami down first, and you wanna put it kind of close to the edges. but not all the way to the edge, because we're going to be able to stretch those edges a little bit more by the time we're done. And we want to be able to pinch the dough at the end. And I overlap the slices, and hopefully you have a good deli where they'll slice it nice and thin for you. They did okay on this one. I like when you have those, when you go to the deli and they make nice rows of slices and they don't get bent. So you just gotta straighten it out. I don't know, I'm a perfectionist. No, I don't think it really makes much of a difference if I didn't straighten it out. All right, so we got a nice good layer of salami. I'm gonna go back, because this is about a ½ pound. You're gonna want a lot of meat in there. I'm gonna go back and cover up any little hole that I might have so that it's fully covered with salami. All right, I probably didn't need that other batch of salami I bought because I thought I made a sandwich. Yep. So I'm just cut that part out and I'll put,
wait.
Oh, yeah, 2? You want 2 more on the side?
No.
No?
No.
Yeah? I could put it on a napkin.
No?
No? All right, let me just put this in the fridge, hold on. You could take this home and make sandwiches.
Okay.
Why not? You keep buying stuff, spending all that money on lunches.
Nope.
Oh no, you're gonna have Stomboli. You're not gonna want a sandwich. Hold on. Okay, back to it. All right, so we've got our whole layer of salami. Now we're gonna put the pepperoni over top. Just overlap them like that. I like them sliced nice and thin. So I'm gonna throw in this extra, this calabrese salami that I got in that pack. I'm just gonna have them go straight across because I only have, let's see, 4 slices. Yeah, I probably won't buy that pack again, $6.99. And the 1, 2, 3, I got 6 slices of gabagool here. So let's go ahead and put those on. So now I got the prosciutto. This is hard because it has to be sliced extra thin. Even if you got it at the deli, you have to have this paper thin. Brings me back to when I worked at the Italian deli in my teenage years. And you almost had to shave it, but it came out in full pieces. I don't know, this package I bought, it's very stuck together, I guess you would say. I think we used to put paper in between so they wouldn't stick together and they wouldn't fall apart like this. All right, so I'm trying to get them as flat as I can. I'm just gonna spread this out as much as I can. If you've never had prosciutto, you would, the flavor is similar to regular ham, I suppose, but it's just so much better. It's like an Italian ham, but it's also, look, paper thin is how it should be cut. Just harder to work with because it is so thin. I'm just covering it around. And after we put the prosciutto on, we're going to add the provolone cheese. Just like you did with the meats, you go around in a circle, overlapping. And believe me, this is gonna be heavy. But you just have a slice with your salad and it's the best dinner. All right, that's it. Now we are going to roll it. So you're gonna take the end closest to you and start picking it up like this. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna try to roll it tightly. You don't wanna have a big air pocket in it. And it's not easy. There's a lot of meat in here and cheese. So I'm pushing it down. I want to start lifting up the other end. I'm pulling the dough at the other end out a little. Once again, trying not to make a hole in the dough because we're gonna need to pinch the seam. And believe me, it's probably gonna leak the cheese all out and it's okay. It still tastes great. One thing about cooking is it doesn't have to be perfect. Baking is a little harder, I think, because you do really have to be careful about the exact measurements. But when you're cooking meals, it's not quite as detrimental to stick to the exact recipe. I like to go and add things that my family likes or that I like. Usually whatever I like, they like. All right, so I'm gonna take the ends and pull them gently because I want to pinch them. And I'm tucking it under, and I'm kind of pushing the dough into itself so that, and pinching it a little bit. That will help it so it won't leak out. But you can never tell. I've done it so many times and it's leaked out so many times. I'm kind of pushing it into itself, pinching that. Here's the other end. Push that meat in there and pull it a little bit. And I'm going to tuck it down. I'm pinching and tucking at the same time. Who knew you had to pinch and tuck on a stromboli, right? All right, so all the edges, there we go. See, I see a spot right there. It's pretty thin. I'll probably have a hole in it, but that's okay. And here's still, it's taking. I've got to pinch it a little bit more. Oh, and here, I have this habit of doing it on an angle. Sometimes it comes out bigger. Depends on how the dough is, depends on the weather and how much stretch I get out of it. Today we have a lot of rain. All right, so there's my dough. I'm gonna pinch it some more after I spread the egg wash over it. Okay, where is my egg? Okay, got my egg. And one other thing, it's the same egg wash I used on the Italian bread. Okay, yeah, so you're beating up the egg. And then I'm gonna take it and brush it all over the stromboli. Yeah, I don't like to see a lot of waste. So if you have a dog, cook this up in a frying pan. It's so good for the dog. It's good for their coat. It makes them shiny. I'm gonna actually flip it over to make sure I get all of the stromboli because I do want to get this to seal the edges right there. See, it's not quite taking. So I'm pushing it into each other like that. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have it leak. I could see it. All right, so it's got egg all over it. Then I'm going to put the sesame seeds on. So I like to do the sesame seeds the same way as my Italian bread. I like to get sesame seeds on the bottom of the bread. So I like to do a strip of the seeds alongside that I'm gonna push into the bottom and then sprinkle it on top. I have pushed the sesame seeds in on the bottom. A lot of sesame seeds make it taste good. And now it's ready to sit again. We're gonna put the towel over it, let it rest for, we'll take a look at it, between 30 to 45 minutes to 55 minutes, 60 minutes. I tend to rush it because we're always hungry. And especially if I'm cooking after work. So it'll probably end up being 35 minutes just because I'm in a rush. But the longer it sits, the more it'll rise if you can be patient. But if you're not, it's okay. All right, we put the towel back on it. We're gonna let it rest for about 30 minutes. Okay, stromboli has sat for about 30 minutes. Ready to go in the oven. All right, remember, 350 preheated, 350. Put the rack in the middle and it goes in the oven. There we go. All right, we just put it in the oven. We got about 30, 35 minutes. We'll take a look at it at 30 and we'll let it cook. Okay. It's been cooking for 30 minutes. I'm gonna take a look at it. Go ahead and stop the timer. All right, so of course I do have some cheese leaking out, but that's okay. I want it to be a little browner than that on top, so I'm gonna give it that extra 5 minutes today. And then it should be fine. We'll take a look at it. I'll show you what it looks like in 5 minutes, and it should be perfect. So it's been 35 minutes. Let me show you what it looks like. I've got some cheese leaking out, but it's okay because that's the best part. All right, it's done. I'm gonna turn the oven off, let it sit for 10 minutes in the oven because you don't want the inside to be uncooked. So this way it doesn't get burnt on the bottom or the top, and the inside, you don't want the bread to be doughy. So we're gonna give it that extra 10 minutes in the oven to just continue to cook. Then we're gonna pull it out. Then we have to let it sit for about 10 minutes before we cut into it, because if you cut into it right away, it's so hot and all the cheese is just gonna ooze out. We don't wanna have that. All right, see you in 10 minutes. Spread olive oil on the cookie sheet, 14.5 by 20-inch sheet. If using a fresh made dough, let sit for 15 to 20 minutes on the cookie sheet. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees and put oven rack in the middle. Stretch dough out as much as you can to cover the cookie sheet. Let sit for 5 minutes. Then stretch again until it reaches the edges. Put a layer of genoa salami over the dough in overlapping slices, then follow with the pepperoni, the capicola, prosciutto, and then the provolone cheese. Start rolling tightly from the long edge. Pinch the side edges and tuck under, and then pinch the seam along the length. Spread the egg mixture over the dough, then sprinkle with sesame seed. Let rise for 30 minutes, covered with a towel. Cook for 30 to 35 minutes until nicely browned, and let stromboli sit in the oven for 10 minutes. Let the stromboli cool another 10 minutes outside of the oven before cutting it so that the cheese doesn't all melt out. Hey guys, thanks for coming to my kitchen. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If there's anything you'd like us to feature, go ahead and let us know in the comments. I don't know about you, but I'm getting hungry. I'll see you next time on Val's Kitchen.